First speaker of this session is Dr. Namrata Sharma, and she is going to be detailing us on the intro of tools in cataract surgery for greater precision. Yes, on to you, Dr. Namrata.
So thank you, Chitra, for inviting me today. And I would be talking to you about the image-guided tools in cataract surgery. There are no financial or proprietary disclosures. So basically, the image-guided tools help in cataract surgery for toric intraocular lens implantation. And then there is also intraop OCT, which helps you to do phacoemulsification. It just fine-tunes the step, and that is its function. So toric intraocular lens implantation can be done for astigmatism, and if it is with the rule astigmatism, then you do it for greater than 1 diopter, and if it is against the rule astigmatism, then you do it for greater than 0.75 diopter as well. After you've already done a good keratometry and axial length, depending upon the optical methods such as the IOL master, which we routinely use, one can do the toric intraocular lens implantation, and in the Alcon toric calculator, the toric axis as well as the toricity of the IOL which is required is calculated, and in the map it gives you where it should be placed. Now what normally happens is that if you do it manually, which is using the bubble marker, or if it is done manually even intraoperatively making the marks such as shown here, then there is some potential error which can creep in because of the head tilt or because of the smudginess of the marks that you do it here, or if the patient is uncooperative or fading of these marks can be there, and these marks may not be precise. So this is just to show the manual marking, how you can have smudges and then it may not be precise, and then there may be some parallax also which will be there. So the precise placement of the lens may not be, it may not be that precise or that accurate. So these are some of the problems of the manual marking system, hence the surgical guidance system in which you can preoperatively plan the case, do correct placement of IOLs, accurate alignment of toric IOLs, IOL positioning, and there's an opportunity to surgeon to see in real time intraoperatively all the alignments that are happening. So we have experience with Verion image guided system as well as the Zeiss Callisto I and Z line, as well as the intraoperative abrometry, which is the ORA. This is the Verion system, which has a Verion reference unit, which has got a measurement module and a vision planner and Verion digital marker. So pre-op registration can be done, and this is then imported on for into the machine for the data capture, which is done pre-operatively itself. Uh, this is how the incisions are seen intraoperatively. So you can see where you have to make the main incision, the side port incision. It gives you where your lens intraoperatively would be aligned. And it also helps you to mark the capsulorhexis so that the size of the capsulorhexis can be titrated, especially for the premium intraocular lens, and also helps you in the centration of the lens. Then this is the iOS axis alignment, which can also be tested with this. The second system that we have is the Callisto I software system, again has a reference image which is imported in the toric intraocular lens alignment system, and the reference image is matched and tracked by the limbal eye vessels to depict the desired axis. Again, this is taken into this is the reference image viewing, and then the limbal vasculature acts as a reference landmark which is matched and tracked. Now, this is just to show a case, a live case of the same. So you can do the side port, you can do the main wound looking at this. Then one can do the staging of the rexes as well as the rexes also can be made. And then subsequently the nuclear emulsification can be done. And this is the intraoppository microscope, in fact, in which the intraocular lenses can be placed. And this is the marking, the Callisto marking. And as you place the lens intraoperatively, you can see actually the axis where the lens is going to be placed. And this axis comes, and this is, for instance, 109-degree here. So it can be aligned looking at this axis, which comes intraoperatively, and then viscoelastic aspiration can be done, and subsequently again the axis can be confirmed at the end of the surgery. So if there is a little bit of misalignment, then that can be titrated likewise. Now, again, you have an intraoperative abrometry, and this is the Optiwave refractive analysis, which has a real-time assessment of, gives you the real-time assessment of the phakic, the aphakic, and the pseudophakic refraction, and it gives you a continuous feedback for toric IOL implantation again. Now, this is just to show how it works. So this is the optical Aura, which is by Alcon with no financial interest in it. So it calculates the power. Then there is this basket which is there, and when you put the lens inside, actually it will keep telling you which side to rotate. So you put the lens, so it is telling you to rotate on the other direction. So this blue arrow also tells you whether to rotate counterclockwise or clockwise. And then you have to get that whole central part into the basket. So this tells you when you get this NRR, which means that no rotation is required. That means you've reached the end point and you are there. So what we do is that we do a combination technique. So we use both Aura as well as we use Verion to do the toric intraocular lens implantation. So a combined combined technique of Verion and Aura can be used. So again, this is just to highlight that the endpoint is a no rotation required. This NRR you are supposed to get, and it basically does aphakic refraction, calculates the IOL power, even the power it will tell you whether it is accurate or not, and also the alignment axis. Then uh, you have post-operatively also image guided systems like iTrace, which can tell you whether the IOL is aligned in the post-operative period or not. And then even if there are slight misalignments, these can be tackled. And this is the one that I was talking about, the combined Verion and Aura. So we do, with the help of the Verion, the incisions, the side port, the rexes, which was previously mentioned. And then with the Verion also, we try and align the IOL power and also with the Aura, just to match it. So for instance, in this case, again, it is showing that there is some amount of astigmatism and some amount of spherical error which is there, and we'll have to change our lens. So we change the lens to get more cylinder, and again align it onto the axis which is shown, and then also confirm it with the Aura. So this green thing has to come inside this green basket, and when that thing comes, then you know that you are completely focused. And again, the endpoint will be something like this, no rotation required. So we've confirmed on 2 instruments now. And I think this is the last bit, which to show that side port, main wound, the capsulorhexis, etc., all can be imaged on this intraop OCT, which is present. And this comes in the same surgical field, both this as well as this. So the flap is elevated, so you can see the flap is elevated here. If there's a corneal haze, then you can see the flap elevated through that corneal haze. Then this is the rexis. So this hydrodissection wave can be seen here as well. And likewise, when you are hydrating the wounds, then you can make out whether the wounds are completely closed or not. If there's a posterior polar cataract, you can actually see whether there's a gap which is present here or not. And then if you have a white cataract like this, you can see that there are some fluid spaces. So if these clefts are there, that means when you give a nick in the capsulorhexis, no fluid is going to come out. So you may not have an Argentinian flap. But if you have a white cataract, which has got a raised intraocular pressure such as this, see, there are no fluid clefts at all. So as soon as you give a nick, the liquid cortex is going to come out. So you can predict these kind of things which we earlier couldn't by the use of the intraop OCT microscope. So image guided systems do have some kind of limitations, because there should be no conjunctival ballooning, chemosis should not be there, patient should be cooperative. In case of deep set eyes, it may be a problem, or even in cases of narrow palpable apertures. So to conclude, intraoperative tools have a role to play in cataract surgery, and they help to fine tune the steps of the cataract surgery. And the tools and the techniques are getting modified, and over a period of time, I think they will get more, there'll be more fine tuning into it, and it will get only better. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Namrata. I have one very basic question I wanted to ask. Now that you have access to all these gadgets, does that mean that you would no longer do a pre-operative astigmaticfix.com to find out? I mean, it shouldn't be that just because you have a sophisticated tool, you still do the old other ones and this also, and you add to the work? Or would you straight go in, get to know intraop and then do it? How do you do it?
So I think the basic tools that we have are most important, because they've stood the test of the time, and stood the track record of so many years, so they would still be there as a basic workup. And these tools can only fine tune your surgery, and also in some of the complicated cases like post LASIK cataracts, where you need to get the IOL part exactly there, they may help. So they may help you in complex situations, or you have very high cylinders, there they can help. And also they can help you to fine tune your surgery. So that is the advantage of these tools.
Madam, is the Aura
Uh,
chargeable on a per patient basis, or is it?
Aura is not chargeable at all. The initial cost is only of the machine that you buy, and then the patient doesn't have to pay anything for the Varion or for the Aura. I mean, at least in the government setup, I'm sure because it would have costed something, so it must be charged extra in the private setups. I'm not aware of that, but for us, once we are doing this, then there is no extra cost to the patient.
Madam, any preoperative data also you have to input into the Aura?
So yeah, so in the Aura you have to put the preoperative data, preoperative keratometry, exhale length, everything, and then calculate the power of the lens, and then you feed that data into the Aura. And once the patient becomes aphakic, that means you've already done a irrigation aspiration, and your bag is ready for an intraocular lens implantation. You do a aphakic refraction, and then it will give you some power of the lens, and then you check whether the power that you had got from your biometry, from your IOL master, etc., and the keratometry that you had done in excellent, is it matching with the Aura power or not? And then you again take a call. For instance, if it is a toric IOL, sometimes it will tell you higher cylinder than what is required. Sometimes it will tell you lower cylinder than what is required. So you titrate accordingly. So Aura can help you to titrate the powers intraoperatively. So we like to keep 2 or 3 backup lenses. So suppose you are doing a toric IOL and if the Aura tells you do T6 and not, T9 or whatever. So we will change our decision on the table and change the lens.
If you inject more visco after the cataract surgery is over, madam, will it influence the Aura calculation? Depending on.
So for Aura, this is a little bit of flip side, that every time you have to keep the chamber tight. So when you're doing an aphakic refraction, you have to put a lot of viscoelastic there. You have to just fill it up with Helon and then do the refraction and put a IOL. And after putting the IOL again, the chamber has to be absolutely tight. So some people like to put viscoelastic, or some people like to put BSS to make the chamber tight. So this is of course there, and it takes a little more time as it would in normal cases, because you need to check and counter check.
Actually, intraopacity, you could even know that the PPC is likely to give away, and you are able to deal with that. But Dr. Rajesh Sinha, can you tell us what would be its role in lamellar keratoplasty? Intraopacity?
IOCT?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, in lamellar keratoplasty, IOCT is really very useful because you get to know first. For a posterior lamellar keratoplasty, let me first tell you, like when you do a DSEC procedure, when you have implanted the lenticule and injected air, you get to know whether fluid is there between the donor lenticule and the cornea or not. So if there's no fluid, this means that's the end point. You don't have to inject more air and wait for some time so that the lenticule adheres, and then you can reduce the amount of air. Similarly, for DMEC also, you get to know what is the orientation of the lenticule, and that will give you the idea of whether the lenticule is in the correct orientation or not. For anterior lamellar keratoplasty, again, when you are dissecting, you get to know at what depth you are dissecting. When you are dissecting, it doesn't give you live like below the instrument with which you are dissecting. But when you lift the tissue, you get to know that how much tissue is left behind. And further, it also helps you to have a uniform stroma all around, because sometimes what happens that you get a slightly thinner stromal bed on one side, a thicker on the other side. So in that case, the patient might be having some visual issues after that, or optical issues after that. So you would like to have a uniform bed. So if it's a thicker on one side, then you can go ahead. Further, you also know that how much deep you have gone in, because there's always a risk of perforation when you are doing a layer by layer dissection. So IOCT, gives you, we call it's a third eye, which gives you an idea that at what position, at what layer, at what level you are working. So it's a good tool. It's really a good tool for lamellar cretoplasty.
Any other questions from the expert panel?
If I might. Thank you, Dr. Ramarada, for the nice talk. Can you give some tips, even with the careful placement and the calculate variance? Sometimes you have some rotation post-operatively. Can you give some tips to give how to prevent the
Dr. Namrata?
So yeah. So just to give some tips of how on Varion you can prevent rotation. When you put the when you are there are times when there is a mismatch between the Varion and between the Aura. So it should be, and there might be some amount of parallax also. So even if one side of it aligns, it is good enough. The other may not be completely bang on because of the parallax that is present because of the differences in the anterior chamber depth that is created. So even if one side, kind of aligns, it is good enough. The other side will fall in place.
My take on this is that, there are two parallel lines which are adjacent to it. As far as both the notches or the markings on the lens are aligned to that, parallel to it, it's okay. It should not be that one is aligned and one is not. But usually, if it is within those dotted lines, then generally it works well. Another just a question. One thing is that, there is definite click fee as far as Aura is involved. At least we guys have been told that, and that's the reason we are keeping away from it. And maybe it's not being charged at your institute. And secondly, as far as the interest in Aura itself is concerned, it's slightly waning now, in the sense that studies have emerged, especially with the latest generation optical biometers, the formulae that are available. And if alignment based on the Aura is done on the table, there are studies which have shown that the results might have been better if they're stuck to the initial readings that was obtained with the optical biometers using the latest formula, rather than correcting on the table. It has worked both ways. David Chang has presented on this quite extensively. So I think that's one of the reasons that the Aura is not really taking on as well as it was expected to initially. Your comments on this?
Dr. Namrata? Namrata, are you connected?
Actually, Aura, or what I also felt that Aura does have a little bit of some element of error sometimes when you have not injected the viscoelastic properly in the anterior chamber. It's not tight. Then in that case also you can get, you do have some element of error. That is one thing I have felt. And of course, apart from that, I mean, it's a way to fine tune things, but I mean, there are other ways as well. I mean, that's what we can say.
Okay.
So what all measurements does the Aura take? Does it remeasure the axial length and keratometry, or just the aberration? And
it's basically on based on aberrations. So finally, it's based on the aberrations and the refract. It's the name itself suggests. So it's basically on the refraction and the aberrations that gives you an idea that what is the power that is deficient, and how much power will add to take care of it. So I mean, perhaps that's the way it works. It basically works on aberrations only.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajesh.